Okay, everybody. My name is Tim Pettit. I'm here at Warner Ineos Grenadier. I'm going to be the host. One of my roles here is product specialist. I'm here with Susan Pieper.
Hi, everybody.
She is going to introduce herself. So, Susan, introduce yourself. Why are you here?
Yeah, awesome. Hello, everybody. My name is Susan Pieper, and I'm here because I am Warner Ineos Grenadier's Rebelle Rally driver, and I'm also outside of Rebelle Rally. I'm someone who built and sold an automotive aftermarket brand, and I work both in the outdoor and automotive aftermarket industries with other founders to scale their businesses.
Okay, awesome. So let me ask you first then, how did you get into driving a Grenadier in the Rebelle Rally? Because that's not something you just decide to do overnight. There needs to be some sort of a background to that, right? So go on, tell me how you got into cars and then how into Rebelle Rally, because there's always a unique story. Go on.
Yeah, well, that's a bit.
That's a long question.
That's a long question. It's sort of like, well, we've got an hour interview. I'll just go for an hour. Yeah. Let me do a little bit of bites, and then you can drive from there. Because actually today I'm your co-driver and you're the driver. So I think the first thing I would say to start is that I've known Tony Warner for 8 years, and he got this dealership in fourth quarter of 2023 as one of the, I believe, inaugural Ineos Grenadier dealers when Ineos corporate came to North America with these incredible cars, the Grenadiers. So, as I said, I've known Tony now for 8 years because I used to run a business down the road that manufactured premium shovels and mounts that some of you may know is called Demos Collective. And actually in 2024, sold that company to another company. So it meant that I'm no longer at the helm of that. But we had been industry friends and been at some of the same trade shows for the van space and for the overlanding space. And I just feel really lucky that when he decided he wanted to put this incredible vehicle to the test in the longest endurance off-road navigation rally raid that happens to only be for women, so he couldn't do it himself. He called me.
Otherwise he would have done, right?
Otherwise he would have, because it's so much fun. He would have, but he called me. So that's how it came to be.
So it's not what you know, it's who you know, right?
It is who you know.
Yeah.
So, although there is a bit of what you know.
So cars,
little bit.
So cars then, why into cars? Because everybody has a vice, but obviously you have to have some sort of a passion for vehicles and jumping in and out and driving off-road, right? So how did that start?
Yeah, so my business was really an automotive aftermarket business, although it had gotten its start in the ski and snowboard world. But my story actually goes from a childhood love of cars. I used to be the teenage girl who detailed her own car in her driveway, to actually pivoting from cars for a while. For almost 20 years, I was a yacht racer. So I did endurance offshore races called like the Trans-Pacific Yacht Race. Okay. And so the mechanical experience of being a racer and an adventure racer and an endurance racer really was something that I was super interested in.
So there's a lot of skill sets there then.
There's a lot of overlapping skill sets because you are navigating and you are driving. And driving, obviously, it looks differently when you're driving a boat and you're trimming sails versus you're driving a vehicle and you're using throttle control and you're feathering, the accelerator.
But it's teamwork, navigation, and organization,
and endurance,
logistics.
And endurance. My off-road racing, sail racing would have events that lasted as long as 13 days, and the Rebelle Rally is 9.
Which, that's what I'm.
Yeah, I love how you gave that look of like, because it is a little bit of a sufferfest, to be fair. Hair and makeup are done right now, but it's a sufferfest. There's no
The driving doesn't bother me. It's 8 days staying in a tent. That's my.
That is a sufferfest. That's true.
Yeah, that's
and your hands start to crack,
So talking of that, then on the event, you're going from incredibly different terrain. Yeah, the scenery is different. The elevation is different. You're out there for 8 days. How does that? That's not for everybody, right? And there's how many competitors? Like 95 teams or whatever, and there's going to be different people, right? And there's going to be people that are sitting in offices 24/7. and everywhere in between, you're ultimate outdoor people. So it's tough on you as a person, right? You're physically, not to mention mentally, right? So how does that affect you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're completely right, Tim. The Rebelle Rally goes from like northern Nevada in elevation, so it can get as cold as 17 degrees in the morning, and you've got hand warmers, and to 115 degrees in Glamis within 8 days. And the sleeping in tent thing, I don't know, is like, I'm good with it. I've slept on a berth in a boat. I've slept, like, I don't care. But it is part of the endurance event, because I think that, there's just, as I've said before, there's really no off button with the Rebelle Rally.
Yeah,
so
can't switch
you
off,
are also competing to set up your tent as fast as you can. Everything is a race. So whether it's setting up your tent, breaking down your tent, getting to the meal tent the fastest, because, time is really, even though we don't compete continuously like the Baja 1000, which is all 24 hours all day long. And actually offshore yacht racing is also 24 hours. You're competing all the time. And you take a break with the Rebelle. They kind of quarantine the event after everybody gets off the course around 7 p.m. until 4 in the morning or so.
So it's pretty much full on, right? But the other thing I was going to mention is, you mentioned the Baja as an example. For those people that are watching that don't know, the Rebelle Rally is not about necessarily, I mean, there is a speed element to it, right? But not in your traditional sense, where you're going from nothing to flat out to, to limit the time. There's time limits. So just talk about how, briefly, without diving into too much detail, about how that works, that there's a time window. So sometimes you need to speed up, sometimes you need to slow down, and then it's endurance, right? So you've got to get there and make sure you keep getting there, not get there and not get back, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about the time element is that while you're not wheel-to-wheel racing, like off the line, you are maybe doing, the starts are every 2 minutes so that their time starts, and you're really competing against yourself in terms of needing to get as many points as possible in 10 and a half hours. So somebody who might be within a point of you could be 30 minutes behind or 30 minutes ahead. And you may or may not see them all day long, but you are making sure that you're competing with yourself to complete to get basically a 100% score, if you can, within a 10 and a half hour range. And you have to, because the course is getting more difficult since it's been going on for 10 years, it's sort of reached a point now where it is not obvious which checkpoints you should go after. So you could have 25 checkpoints and maybe a possible score for that day of 225 points, but you may not be able to get all of them, and they're not all in order, and they're not, basically going to follow a single course. So you have to look at the map, and you have to think about your day, and think about the terrain, and think about your truck, and think about how your drive style and where you do best and how you can make up time. For example, the Grenadier does extremely well in the roughest terrain, like a Johnson Valley terrain, like super rocky, washboardy roads. Like, we can go really fast there and get a lot of points. But we are a heavy vehicle, so it's a lot harder for us to get as many points at the top of a sand dune, for example. So it's just, you have to think about which points you're going to go for and how you
I was going to
compete. What's the strategy?
Touch onto that. One of the things we say about the Grenadier, that is built for more, right? Now, you could go, that's just a marketing phrase, but it absolutely is right. And if you think about it, you really were using it for more.
Yes.
So how did it do?
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. I mean, I love the Grenadier for its sheer, I'll call it, so sort of sheer power with that BMW B58 engine and torque. Incredible torque all day long. The other thing is that it is, maybe compared to similar full-time four-wheel drive vehicles in its class, it is just an incredibly robust drivetrain. So it's just like, I just feel like we eat the washboard roads. We sail over.
It swallows that up. I mean, one of the criticisms of the Grenadier before anybody got to drive them, and I've done lots of test drives where people, you tell them the horsepower, the stock horsepower, 282 horsepower.
Yeah, and people yawn.
And they roll their eyes at you and go, oh, really? Uh-huh. But when they drive it, now I've done a few test drives where I drive with people and I don't tell them the horsepower. And they say, right, go on, we'll put our foot down, we'll get on the freeway or whatever. And then they go, oh, this goes quite well. And then you tell them the horsepower and they go, oh, but of course you've got to see the bigger picture, right? You've got to see the torque and where the torque's available.
Exactly.
So it's a whole package of things, not just a numbers game, right?
It is a whole package of things.
And I think,
that's right.
If you dig into it, it's a car engine, right? It's an engine that's used in a car, but it's been tuned so well that it's absolutely perfect for what you're doing.
It is. I mean, we are not, we're not trying to do, a land speed record. Let's just be clear.
No.
That would be the wrong engine. And yes, you're right. That BMW B58 engine, I understand, has been detuned. And it's probably like one of the world's best inline six engines.
Well, detuned in as much as the horsepower's down, but the torque's more, right? Yeah, so
the torque, And so, it's not meant for wheel-to-wheel racing. But what it's meant for is that when you give it, you give it throttle and you're going to climb something, you're going to get up it. Like, no problem. And I feel the other thing is that it is very quick, very responsive and quick pickup. So we do a lot of starting and stopping. And that means that we're slowing down to a stop, maybe to confirm that we're at the checkpoint that we're at. And then as soon as my co-driver says go, we're going. Yeah. And we're getting up to rally speed as quickly as possible.
But it's also the mapping of the transmission and everything else, and everything works nicely together, doesn't it? But it's a great machine for putting your foot down. Or, I mean, we've done a bunch of rock crawling and stuff, so opposite ends of the scale. But the engine torque is something that people really, I'm just looking at my questions now, they really, really, they see it very differently after they've driven it, shall we say. So
I completely agree.
Another question, because you've messed up my question order now. Oh. No, you're fine. Is how do you get on with, because we all live in this age of staring at screens 24/7, whether it's your phone, computer, or whatever. Just to confirm, when you're doing the rally, it's map, compass, and calculator. That will probably throw horror into some people's eyes, wouldn't it? Just even from a point of not being able to check their social media, never mind using it to map to navigate and not being able to look at your phone. How does that work?
So, I mean, I feel like I can't almost adequately answer that question because I've done the rally 5 times and going on number 6, and I've gotten so used to it, it doesn't even faze me.
But when you talk to other people,
people freak out.
They're like,
people are like, what do you mean you don't have GPS?
Do they go, is that a river? Is that a road? Is that a...
Well, the Rebelles don't. And that's only because in order to, I think when the Rebelle first started in 2016, there were a lot more people. Like my first year was 2018 and I'd been an ocean navigator and I knew how to, I knew where north was and I was fine. But like people, when you navigate offshore in a yacht race, you do not have the same precision of topo reading that you do in this. So the topo reading is intense. You are right. It is very difficult to tell. Is this a canal? Or is that a power line? Or is it even on the map?
And then the dunes change, right? And it all looks the same.
Well, the dunes actually, the Glamis dunes, for example, are really features like mountains that are permanent. And even though the top parts of the dunes maybe are wind buffeted and change shape, the actual peaks themselves are on a map, just like a dirt mountain.
Okay, so it's not too bad then.
No, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that takes people most of the time to get used to is how to be efficient at communicating with a co-driver and a driver, where the vehicle needs to go. Because my job is to keep the vehicle moving as quickly as possible.
Teamwork.
And Elise's job, my co-driver and navigator, Elise Young, who actually is an engineer, a business analyst. She does a lot of deep business analysis for Onyx maps in the back.
As in the app Onyx?
As in the app,
okay. Yeah. So she knows more than she needs to know probably about navigation, right? Okay.
She does. But for her to communicate to me exactly where I should place the tires of the Grenadier is really more challenging than you think it is, because we're doing that all day long. And we have to have shortcuts of ways that I can quickly see what her eyes see or what she's telling me to look at. And so that is something that takes time to really perfect. And the top teams are really incredibly good at how they communicate between the driver and the co-driver.
Which is essential, right? Because you're
essential.
doing it all day. And
yeah, all day. So you just have to be so fast.
And in terms of actually doing it, I'm guessing when you're finished that 8 days of sleeping in a tent and navigating with a compass and a calculator, pretty rewarding, right? When you're finished, pretty, a personal thing. Even if, no matter where you come, the fact that you've actually finished it, because it's an endurance race, right? Pretty satisfying, would you say?
Yeah, it's funny, as you said that, it gave me chills because I was thinking about this last year in Johnson Valley. So we finished in 2024 in Johnson Valley, and we actually had our best day. That was the competition day 7. And we had, in a single day, broken down camp at Glamis and gotten checkpoints in the Glamis sand dunes in the morning, and as quickly as possible transitioned into we drove the canals between, I don't know if you all know what I'm talking about in Southern California, but there's a series of canal roads that you can take through San Bernardino County, basically up to Johnson Valley, which is near the Mojave Desert. And so we were doing a long road transit following a road book up this canal road, which was actually complicated navigation, and there were some washouts. So it was also, you had to be on your throttle and on your brake all the time to make sure that you could keep the vehicle moving but not hit something and hurt it. So, and then we got to Johnson Valley, and we were right behind the team that ended up getting third, the Toyota team in the Tundra. And it was really exciting because we knew we had a chance. We knew they were going for the podium. So we were really going for the podium. They were really going for the podium. And then we hit Johnson Valley. And this vehicle, our Grenadier, which we've named Helga, really, as I said, it excels in Johnson Valley. We can go so fast over things that you cannot believe that we can go over. So we got so many checkpoints that afternoon. We were down to literally, I think we were going to come across the line at 5:37, and it was 5:36, and we were getting a checkpoint, and we could see we were 1,000 feet from the finish. And so I gave gas, and we came across the finish line right in time. And it was our best day yet. And it's great to end an event where the last day is your best. So we didn't make podium. Actually, the Toyota team did. They got third. But we really had an incredible rally. And ending on that high of a note and continuously improving throughout the rally in 2024 has us wanting more, and which is why we're going back.
How many have you done now? How many?
So I've done 5, and Elise
consecutively?
Not consecutively. No. I took 2 years off.
Right.
And then Elise has done 4.
Right.
So we're coming back 5 and 6, and it's the 10th edition of the Rebelle Rally in 2025, which is going to be, kind of a celebration.
And you're doing it this year?
We are, yes.
Right, okay. And have you started to train for that? Because I know there's a lot of prep work for it, right?
Yes, we have started to train for it. So that's why before we started sitting down in this chat, I was telling you that we took my Jeep across the border and went down to Sonora, Mexico to do the Sonora
that's
Rally.
What you were doing, right?
Training school, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not just turn up and do it and hope for the best.
No.
Which when you watch it on YouTube, for example, you think, maybe that's just turning up and having a laugh in the sand and reading a map, but there's way more to it than that, right?
Yeah, most of the top teams are training year round.
Yeah.
And, Elise and I aren't every weekend or every night, but that's because we are using the same vehicle. We're the same team. We have all of our materials together. We know what mistakes we made last year. We are very deliberate about what we need to improve, and we have a plan to improve those things.
So let me ask you then, why Helga? I think I know why, but go on, tell me why. Because it's a very German name. Why Helga?
Oh, you mean why do we? Yeah, I think it was a German name, and I don't know. She's just kind of stout. She's definitely a German girl. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
But the Grenadier actually has. I think it's built in Hambach, France, so it's right on the border of Germany, and so it's French. And then it is German.
Well, if you go back far enough, it was in
British.
Germany, right? Yeah.
Yeah, if you go back far enough, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that factory was a factory that Ineos bought from Mercedes, reportedly during COVID when they were going to expand production.
So there's lots of German references, right?
A lot of German references, exactly.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for telling us about that. What we're going to do now is pause briefly, and then we're going to go down and have a walk around the vehicle outside.
That sounds
so you can
great.
tell us a bit about the vehicle in a bit more detail.
Sounds good. Awesome, Tim.
Thank you. Hi everybody, just to continue part of this interview, we're now with I'm with Susan again. We are with the vehicle in question that was behind us on the TV screen. So I'm just going to get Susan to run through some of the differences on what's effectively a stock vehicle, but it's been modified for the Rebelle Rally. So Susan, if you want to just go through some of the things on the vehicle, starting at the front, what are, there's some fairly obvious things, but go on, talk us through it.
Sounds great. Thanks, Tim. So again, I'm Susan Pieper, and I'm the 2024 and 2025 Rebelle Rally driver for Team Warner Ineos Grenadier. And this vehicle was a stock Trial Master Grenadier 2024 with some modifications. So the first thing you can see is that we have a sticker for Invictus, and we did a 1.5-inch lift, and we did the Invictus in the 4x4 Project suspension, which is an aftermarket upgrade. And that gave us an ability to move this vehicle swiftly across whoops and across washboard type terrain, because the suspension basically has been tuned for that type of movement and travel at high speeds. The next thing is, as we move back along the vehicle, you can see that we have running boards that are manufactured by one of our other partners, which is Latec from Germany. And
Susan, just to interject there, just for the purposes we know what we're looking at, but these are the stock wheels and tyres that you'd find on a regular Grenadier, the alloy in this instance, but we have actually changed the wheels. So if you look back to the other part of the interview, you can see it's got different wheels and tyres, but we've changed those just for.
That's right, Tim. We run true bead locks in the Rally, and they are manufactured by Braid, and that enables us to air down without basically to a very low tire pressure.
And just out of interest, what tire pressure were you going down to?
So we don't actually go, interestingly, we don't go that low. A lot of people might be thinking, that's a great question. We normally run the vehicle at about 35 PSI off-road, and in sand we'll start at 22, we'll take it to 20, and then down to 18.
Depending on the type of sand, right?
Yeah, like super soft sand. And if it's extremely soft, I might air down even from 16 to 14. But probably starting at 22.
But with bead locks, you're within your.
We're not going to, and I'm very careful to not turn too quickly, which would cause a rolling of the bead. So as I move along the vehicle, this was a stock Trial Master, as I said, and a Trial Master basically is, all the Grenadiers are built for more, but a Trial Master is sort of a package that enables you to get the center locker, the rear locker, the front locker, and the raised air intake, which actually has been removed from this vehicle. So anyway, moving on back. So
did you have the raised air intake?
We did not.
Oh, in all that dust? That's surprising.
We did not.
Right?
Yeah, that is interesting, because as you can see, we took it off. We have an aftermarket light bar by Latec. And again, the same manufacturer of the aftermarket running boards. And what's nice about these running boards is that they have these steel reinforced jack points. So when we needed to change a tire, we would use those jack points to lift the vehicle. And let's see. We obviously also partner with BF Goodrich.
So what I was going to ask you is, talk us through the Terra Trip, because the interior is pretty standard, right? But the Terra Trip, what does that allow?
Well, the interior is not super standard, because we did what's called a rear seat delete. So when you get in the rear, it's not going to look, this is a trophy truck. It was a passenger vehicle, 5-passenger vehicle that could be great on highway off-road, but now it's really modified. We run a rally computer. So
that's really what you're using because time is of the essence.
Well, actually, this isn't a timer. This is a timer, but the Rally computer gives our very precise tenths and hundredths of a kilometer.
Oh, wow.
So we know exactly, because obviously if you know your heading and you know your distance, you know where you are on a map. So distance, and then heading is largely from us taking compass headings to be able to determine exactly where the vehicle is. And the other thing about the vehicle, so I'd say nothing else super modified here, except that up in the control panel, we have run the front lights, the in bumper front lights, and some special Baja rear lights, which are all off of those fuses. And we have a compressor in the front of the vehicle in the engine compartment, and we also have a compressor in the rear. So we run 2 compressors so that we can air all 4 tires at the same time, or
and that's run through the standard pre-wired buttons, right?
Yeah, those are all standard pre-wired.
And seats, they're just the standard Recaros. I say standard, they're...
Well, they're not standard, they're race seats, which is amazing. Yeah, well, then Recaro you get in, when you buy a Grenadier, you get Recaro race seats.
So move us around to the back then, because we were talking cross purposes there with the rear.
Yeah.
We'll just let him come around. So coming into the back, obviously there's a lack of seats.
That's right.
So these particular ones are Goose Gear, is that right?
That's right, and Goose Gear is one of our partner friends, and they've manufactured this platform so that we can mount a 5th, well, let's see, this is our actually 6th tire. So we obviously run 4 tires, we carry a rear on the back of the spare tire carrier, and then we carry another tire inside, because you can't complete a rally that you can't drive, so you have to be able to have tires. And these compartments are for the battery. So we have an auxiliary battery, which is stock in the vehicle. And then on the side that is behind the driver, this is simply for spares and for storage. And then we are also partnered with Pro Eagle, and we carry one of their Pro Eagle race
so we can see that easier.
Sure.
So yeah, we're definitely utilising all of the space, and of course the great thing about these things is they're square, they're full of right angles, so you can get all your gear in.
Yeah, and we love these Molly panels that we use on the rear quarter panel windows. So, you know, this is basically, like, obviously we go through a ton of silt beds and sand, so we always have to be able to keep the windshield clean. And we have some extra tools and other spares. There's an engine spill kit that's in front that you don't obviously access very, very frequently, but this is truly where we keep our recovery gear. Camping gear is usually further forward, and in the back, most often used are these in-deflate. We have 2 of these that we just grab as a kit, and each one is set up for airing up or airing down, and this is probably what we use the most, because we're just airing up and down and down
it's quick to do that, right?
Super quick to do that.
So each one of those does two tires at a time, right?
Yeah. And as small as this is, this table is a really important addition to our team, because, you know...
You like to make tea.
I like to make tea. I do like to make tea. And I also like to be able to, you know, quickly get a snack or whatever, and so this is what we use if we're when we're camping.
And if anybody watching this thinks that drinking tea in the desert is somewhat bougie,
it is.
It is.
It is.
It is.
Just so you know.
It is. Yeah.
It is.
So talk us through because there's a little bit missing on here, but talk us through the back door there.
Yeah, so this tire carrier is not stock. This is a Latec, I'm sorry, not tire carrier. This ladder is a aftermarket ladder made by Latec that allows you to put a fuel can or a water can, and we just took it out because we are sort of changing up things in our build right now. And let's see, what else do we have? We have, we talked about the Goose Gear on the inside. We talked about the 4x4 Project.
What we didn't look, let's have a look at the front, because did you use the winch at all? Did you use the winch?
We did not use the winch. We do have it. And it would be useful more than not if we needed to help another competitor. A little bit harder for self-rescue because we don't carry a pull pal. But there aren't that many situations that we can't kind of get out of, so
we don't need it. Which is just as well, because there's not that many trees, right?
Yeah, there's not that many trees. You don't need a tree strap. You don't really need a pull pal. Okay, and just to finish up, the coolest thing that I've seen on this particular Grenadier is on the steering wheel. Tell us about your little sloth on the steering wheel. What's that about? Did that help you compete? It does. It helps me compete a lot, because I have to keep 2 things in mind. I have to keep in mind that we need to both relax. Because I can tell you that it is a lot harder to navigate and drive for 12 hours a day, 8 days in a row, if you're stressed out. And Elise really picks up on that energy as a navigator and feels so much pressure because she's the one determining where the vehicle basically is going to go and what our course is and our strategy. And so you can really feel when someone drives if they are gripping death gripping the steering wheel. So I really do try to not death grip the steering wheel. I hold it at 9 and 3. You know, I relax my foot. I've got my right foot on the gas. I got my left foot on the brake. I am constantly up and down working the throttle and the brake all the time and feathering it. And I am relaxing and trying to keep the vehicle moving as smoothly and as quickly as possible so that she could not be shaken and stirred. I like to joke that it's driving Miss Daisy, because the more that I can do that, the easier her job is.
You're dating yourself by saying driving Miss Daisy.
I know. But we've been laughing about that. I also have normally a sticker that says "Don't overthink things," and it's true. You can't. You just gotta
you can't chew the small stuff, right?
Yeah, you can't. You gotta let it go, because this thing is it's a beast of a rally. It's a beast of a vehicle, and you know, just being able to respect that the process is let it work. Let it work its magic. It's two ladies. Don't overthink it. Help your partner relax. Breathe, and you'll do just fine.
Thank you.
It's really cute.
Well, thank you for spending time with us with the vehicle, and thanks for answering lots of questions. Yeah. If anybody's got any comments on the vehicle or what Susan's been doing or the Rebelle Rally, please put them in the comments and let us know, and we'll speak to you on the next one.
Sounds great. Thank you, Tim.